Ever feel like there's maybe a hidden key, some fundamental truth that could just unlock a deeper understanding of, well, everything?
Yeah, that quest for the aha moment.
Exactly. And today, we're sort of on a mission to find that key, or at least explore one author's attempt to forge it.
Right.
We're diving into Five Secrets of the Matrix, the true core of self-development by Zsa Zsa Tudos.
And to really get a handle on what this book's proposing, we've looked at it from, well, a few angles.
Mm-hmm.
The product pages on Amazon UK and US versions, what's on Google Books, and also the chatter over on Goodreads.
Good idea. Gives us a richer picture, doesn't it? Rather than just, reading the cover.
Definitely a more rounded view.
So our goal here isn't just a book report. We want to extract the core insights about self-development that Zsa Zsa Tudos is putting forward.
What's the big idea she's trying to get across?
Okay, so the book, it sets out to reveal the, quote, bare core and the unique DNA structure of the Great Matrix.
The Great Matrix.
Hmm.
Sounds pretty ambitious.
It does. What does that actually mean in practice, do you think?
Well, what's intriguing right off the bat is her method. She argues that by stripping away what she calls man-made artificial elements
Okay. From what?
from a really broad spectrum, we were talking mysticism, the occult, magic, spiritual healing, astrology, history, even philosophy.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. The idea is if you strip those back, you get to this essential understanding, this great matrix.
So she's suggesting all these different ways of looking at the world, at ourselves.
Huh.
They contain some kind of central, untainted truth, like a common denominator.
That seems to be the thrust of it, yeah.
And if we can grasp that one core, what then? What's the payoff?
Well, the book claims that understanding this great matrix in its, let's say, purest form, it makes a lot of other self-help and spiritual books, maybe even traditions, sort of redundant.
Really redundant.
That's the claim. It positions itself as the foundational text you need to understand the self and how we develop.
That's a bold claim.
It is. Suggests a kind of intellectual or spiritual decluttering, maybe?
Yeah.
Paring down to the absolute essentials.
That is a really significant promise. Clarity, knowledge, self-confidence, all from understanding this one concept.
Mm-hmm.
So who is the person making this, well, rather grand assertion? What do we know about Zsa Tudos?
Well, Zsa Tudos has quite a long history in this area. She describes herself as an educator, author, and personal life coach.
Okay.
And get this, with over 25 to 30 years of experience teaching about what she terms the mysteries of life and the universe.
30 years. Wow.
Yeah. And alongside that, 2 decades as a relationship and family counselor. And the same again as a personal life coach.
So it sounds like she's coming from a very practical, hands-on background, even with all the talk of mysteries.
It seems that way. And her teaching style, it's interesting. She doesn't describe it as strictly academic.
Oh, how so?
No. She identifies as an esoteric teacher. She puts the emphasis on learning through experience rather than just, book learning or theory.
Experiential learning.
Okay. And her background includes living and teaching in various places: Greece, Spain, France, Brazil, besides her native Hungary and now London.
That's quite a journey.
That diverse exposure probably really shapes her perspective, you'd think.
Absolutely. That kind of international experience, living in different cultures, it can definitely change how you see the world, human nature.
For sure.
So what seems to be the driving force behind her work? This quest to understand the great matrix, what's the why?
Her primary motivation, it seems, is this desire to alleviate what she calls the miseries of earthlings. A bit dramatic, perhaps, but
Miseries of Earthlings. Okay.
she wants people to see life as something extraordinary, approach it with curiosity, enthusiasm.
A positive goal.
And this apparently led her to develop her own philosophical system. It's called Akia.
Akia.
Yeah, A-K-I-A. She describes it as a complex account of the universe and earthlings within, and she currently teaches it.
Interesting.
And it almost sounds like this Matrix book might be like an entry point into that broader philosophy.
Akia sounds like a whole other deep dive waiting to happen. Fascinating that she's built this entire framework.
Mm-hmm.
We also noticed some, well, pretty diverse elements in her background listed. Studies in commerce and management.
Right, and then a diploma from the University of Circus and Performing Arts.
Service arts. And experience as a fashion designer and English teacher. That's quite a blend.
It really is.
How might those, seemingly disparate experiences influence her approach to self-development? Any thoughts?
That's a great question. It definitely suggests a very multifaceted perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe the business background brings a practical goal-oriented side,
Mhm.
and the performing arts, perhaps an understanding of human expression, illusion, maybe even the constructed nature of reality.
Fitting with the Matrix theme.
Could be. And obviously, the teaching background informs how she communicates these big ideas.
Right.
She actually stated somewhere that her goal as a writer is pretty specific,
Mhm.
to include at least 5 valuable, memorable sentences in each book.
5 sentences.
5 sentences,
Hmm.
hoping to spark thought, initiate a journey towards happiness for the reader.
That's a unique goal for a writer. So, with this rich, varied background informing her perspective, what are some of the core claims, the key concepts that actually emerge in Five Secrets of the Matrix? What's the essence of these secrets?
The book is upfront about integrating those diverse fields we mentioned: mysticism, occultism, magic, spiritual healing, astrology, history, philosophy,
All of them.
all of them. It really suggests she sees these not as totally separate things, but as different, maybe overlapping lenses to view this great matrix.
Looking for common threads, perhaps? Underlying principles?
Possibly. That seems logical.
And what's the intended outcome for the reader, according to the book? Understanding these connections leads to what?
It aims to clarify the, quote, duty and responsibility of earthlings. That's quite a statement.
Duty and responsibility.
Okay. And it proposes a path that leads back to nature and the mystical place we call happiness.
Back to nature and happiness.
Yeah, and several sources describe it quite practically, too. Like a handbook for trying times, for emotional distress, a source of strength when you're in despair.
So it's not just abstract knowledge then. It's meant to be a tool.
Exactly. It's positioning itself as a practical tool for emotional well-being as much as intellectual understanding.
Makes sense.
It claims to help readers understand how their own thoughts, emotions, behaviors are all interconnected
Right.
with the wider world, the universe even,
Yeah.
and ultimately help them find their place within it all.
Find your place in the universe. Big stuff.
One description on Goodreads even called it an essential handbook for people ready for a deeper level of understanding.
Okay. Now, let's maybe shift focus a bit to the book itself as an object, a publication. When did it come out, and how have readers generally reacted?
Sure. It looks like it was published around the same time on both sides of the Atlantic, June 1st, 2017 in the UK,
Okay.
and May 31st, 2017 in the US. So, pretty simultaneous.
Got it. And how long is it?
It's a fairly substantial read. Looks like around 297 to 299 pages, depending on the format, paperback or Kindle.
Okay, decent length. And what's the general feeling from people who've actually read it? What are the ratings like?
The average customer rating is actually quite positive. It's sitting at 4.5 out of 5 stars across both Amazon, UK, and US.
4.5, that's pretty high.
It is. And there's a reasonable number of ratings contributing 18 in the UK, 25 in the US. Not thousands, but enough to get a sense.
Yeah, definitely encouraging numbers. What specific things are readers pointing to in their reviews? What's hitting home?
Well, several words keep popping up: inspiring, engaging, mind-opening. Some even call it a masterpiece or refreshing. High praise.
Wow, masterpiece.
Yeah. One UK reviewer called it a must-read. And a US reviewer specifically mentioned its different and compelling understanding of life
Okay.
and how it really encourages self-reflection. So it seems to be striking a chord with people looking for, well, a new way of looking at things.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really resonating with people who are actively seeking a different perspective on these big fundamental questions.
And that's the impression.
Did the book find a particular niche? Like, where does it sit in terms of subject categories?
It did, yeah. On the US Kindle store, for example, it's achieved rankings in categories like occult metaphysical phenomenon,
Right.
philosophy and spiritual growth, and metaphysics. So that gives a pretty clear signal about the audience it's attracting.
Definitely lines up with the content we've discussed. Finally, we noticed it's listed as part of a series.
Ah, yes, good point. 5 Secrets of the Matrix is identified as book 1 of 2
Book 1 of 2.
in a series called Curious Earthlings,
Curious Earthlings. Okay.
which suggests Zsa Zsa Tudos has, explored these themes further in a second book.
Right. Potentially building on these ideas. Okay. So, just to sort of recap our deep dive here, Five Secrets of the Matrix seems to be a book that really aims high. It wants to provide a foundational understanding of ourselves, the universe, drawing connections between a really wide range of esoteric and philosophical traditions.
Precisely. And the author, Zsa Zsa Tudos, brings this extensive and frankly quite diverse background coaching, counseling, esoteric teaching to present this as a pretty comprehensive guide, promising clarity, a pathway to happiness, all through grasping this central idea she calls the Great Matrix.
You know, this whole notion of a single book holding the true core of self-development, by pulling together such a vast range of human inquiry, it certainly gives you pause, doesn't it?
It does. It's a huge claim.
Yeah. Thinking about the sheer breadth and depth of knowledge across just one of those fields, let alone all of them.
Mm.
Does the idea of one definitive source spark your curiosity? Maybe about potential unifying principles.
Or perhaps a bit of healthy skepticism.
Or skepticism, exactly. It
Yeah.
makes you wonder, what might be the unique value for you listening in exploring this kind of integrated perspective, even if you don't fully buy into the idea of a single core?
Maybe the value is in the connections themselves, seeing how these different areas might speak to each other.
That's a great thought. Perhaps it's just in that act of drawing connections that new insights can actually emerge for someone.
Could be.
So if this exploration has piqued your interest, maybe delving into Five Secrets of the Matrix or Zsa Tudos' other work could be a really fascinating next step in your own journey of understanding.